hear you. No, it's not working before. No.
Thank you, Mr. Harris.
Okay? Rick Lang, 6662 County Line Road. I got a couple questions just based on the information that you put out here today. And I'm sure it's no secret to any of you now that one of the big problems and the reason this whole audit came to be is because some of the questionable auditing practices or budget practices that you've been doing, and now you're trying to correct those things. And so I wanted to get some clarification on a couple issues that, to me, look like they could be questionable going forward, and try to alleviate those problems and get the answers to the questions now before they become a bigger problem. One of the questions that I had is, when you showed the budget numbers, you showed a previous budget number of 41,378, and you showed a new number of 42,797. But in actuality, what you actually spent last year was 38,350 roughly, you know, with 3 zeros after it. So when I do the math, it looks like you're actually increasing your budget by 4,447,000 roughly, not the number that you had up there. And that's because of the difference between what you had said you were going to spend last year and what you actually did spend last year. Am I correct in those numbers?
It's hard, we don't answer questions during public comment, but if you submit them in writing, we can get you an answer.
Okay, that's my first question. All right, the second question I have is in reference to the reserve fund for unemployment payments or costs of the school. I read the April newsletter that came out, and in there it was stated that the school didn't agree with the state audit, and they felt that they should use more current numbers when figuring out what they should have as a reserve in that fund to cover the actual costs rather than the costs that occurred 5 years ago. And in that response that you had in the newsletter, you listed what you spent in the last 6 months for unemployment costs. And so if I take that cost and multiply it by 2 to get an annual number, and then I take that annual number and divide it by what we have in that fund, which you just put up on the screen, I come up with 9.6 years of coverage. In your newsletter, you claimed that we were going to run out of money way before what the auditor said, and the auditor said it was going to be 10 years. And so that's my other question.
Thank you.
Okay.
Is there any other public comment?
Around 2793 Plain Road. Just a couple of questions, comments. Having the public comment before the hearing and then go on the budget, kind of backwards. I mean, people may have questions that you might want to answer. Maybe it may impact what you want, and make a change to the budget. Like we talk about when people retire through attrition, replace them. It might be important to know what maybe those positions are, like if they were library like in the past. Because right now, it's good that it would be important to know, because then maybe people may have comments on those. If it is phys ed, I know I overlooked the district PE plan, and the school's not aligned to the New York State standards and national state policy on the internet. They like to do that. You also talked about in the you showed demonstrating we're using reserves now to lower the budget, which is good. But there were reserves transferred back in last year. There were a lot more than we used.
Thank you, Mr. Reynolds.
Dennis Landry, 365 Jacobs Road. We said you're using $1.9 million out of our reserves this year to cover the state, cover our budget. Yet, we're figuring we're gonna have $1 million left over. So that really means that we're only using like $900,000 of our reserves. So what I'd really like to see as part of our response to what the state audit has, and maybe help a little bit on our public appeal to the people, is how about a spreadsheet over the last 10 years of what was actually taken in, not only from the public, but from the state aid, what was spent, what was left over, and where that leftover money went to. I think that would, simple facts, none of this smoke and mirrors that we do with our PowerPoint presentation. Just a simple thing. And at the last meeting, I thought you were a little hostile towards some of the people. You actually.
We're not doing derogatory comments, thank you.
Oh. You can't have an opinion.
Yeah.
If I can address the board, it's not really a question. Opinion, the way I look at things. You folks.
Sir, your name.
Pat Smith, 7011 North Slocum Road, Ontario, New York. You folks are here to try to educate people, and you have a public turnout, and you show up. I already have 2 or 3 questions after the presentation. I can't give an answer. I'd like to know what you board members think. I would like to talk to you. I know you have to keep some decorum in this meeting. You can't go with a 4-hour streaming session to people, but there may be some thought could be given to revamping your format to these meetings so that people do get enlightened and don't be aggravated. And if somebody has a question, they only get the answer from Mrs. Garrett. I don't. And if I want to know what so-and-so thinks, I should be able just to ask in some part so that I feel you folks are communicating with me and you're telling me something that I can go away with knowing that I've got an answer. There's a lot of frustration in the community, and you folks can properly massage the way the meetings go, the format, just change things up a bit so that people feel like they're more of the meeting and they're, they're right then and there. So they, I don't know, I'm leaving here with more questions than when I came.
That's right.
And I would like a little more one-on-one somehow so that we can just, get some of these answers. Just put out a way for blowing out proportionally. That's all.
Thank you.
Kathy Freischlag, 5969 Lansing Road. I have a few questions. One question is, I'd like to know what individual directed the the school public relations specialist and the school security officer to direct the news cameras to leave last week's meeting and not allow them to film a public meeting. My next question is, what is the primary purpose of the school's district phone system? I don't know if it's called EduTech, that calls home to give information. Is it appropriate to call people's homes on a holiday when there's not a school emergency? My next question is, why did the Human Resources Director, Mark Callahan, leave employment in February of 2012? The public was told that it was a mutually, quote, mutually agreed upon resignation. And is that accurate? What exactly does that mean? And why did we pay his contract in full to the end of the year? Was he asked to leave because he refused to lie to teachers during contract negotiations regarding the amount of money reserved for that purpose? And is that Mr. Atzek's responsibility? My last question is, does Mrs. Garrett's comment that we will, quote, continue to take a conservative approach to financial management mean that as the state audits showed that we will continue to over budget and overtax the taxpayers?
Anybody else for public comment?
730 Jacob Road. I didn't write this down, but, my question is that you just asked to add a playground to budget, so that's not in the budget proposal, but you just approved the budget proposal, so I'm
It's
thinking-
not part of the budget, it's a separate thing.
But it could be if it's not legal for us to take it out of the capital fund. So I'm just kind of curious how that works. If you find out legally that you can't add it, or can't do it from the capital funds, you wanted to add it to the budget, but you just approved the budget, so would you be putting like something in there later to say that, we approved the budget, but we may be adding $50,000 to $100,000 more for a playground? That's just my question. Thank you.
Thank you.
Carla Borman, 4124 West Walworth Road. I just would like to know why our website doesn't contain a lot of information. The archives don't go back very far. There's no contracts on the website. You gotta FOIL everything. Many other districts, you can click on contract agreements and you can see everything from the custodian to the bus driver to the superintendent to every administration, your confidential people. You try to look for something that was a board incident or on a board agenda 2 years ago, you can't find it, you gotta FOIL it. You complain about the FOIL request, but yet our website is